Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to Watch You Want. Thanks for logging on. Today, we are looking at a bona fide sea monster. This is the Hublot King Power Oceanographic 1000 meters, 2012's ultimate Hublot sports watch. This is an extreme diver, rated to 1000 meters, but tested to 1250. 48 millimeter King Power case, one of only 1000 made. It is the Chronograph follow-up and upgrade to 2011's time-only Oceanographic 4000 meters. Now, Hublot has long been a style leader in the luxury watch industry, but around the turn of the last decade, around 2009, 2010, Hublot began to decide that it wanted to be a technology leader as well, and we began seeing high complications, tourbillons. They brought in their own complications workshop by buying their complication partner B&B Concept, and they started researching ultra high-end dive watches, which came to realization in the form of the 1000 Chronograph and the 4000 Oceanographic. And both of those watches issued in conjunction with the Monaco Museum of Oceanography, which, given the amount of space they have in Monaco, might be the only aquarium in the country. Both of those watches drew on maritime inspiration and high technology to create a watch that pretty much embodies everything Hublot knew about oversized style and oversized tech. Let's talk a little bit about that style and then dive into the tech, so to speak. Now, the King Power case, and it's been around with us since about 2009, is 48 millimeters in diameter, but that's a nominal 49. In reality, it's quite a bit bigger than that. But I will say this, with natural rubber, composite flanks, and titanium, Hublot does a great job of reducing the mass of this. This thing feels no heavier on my 6 1/3 16 centimeter wrist, so that's 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters for our friends in Monaco. But on my wrist, it feels no heavier than something like a 44 millimeter Rolex Deep Sea, maybe even a little bit lighter than the Deep Sea, because the Deep Sea comes on a bracelet. This is on natural latex rubber. And I'll also be honest, it feels lighter than a 44 millimeter Hublot Big Bang first generation. It feels a lot lighter than a 42 millimeter Audemars Piguet Royal Oak in gold. So if you have those watches as a frame of reference, this feels a lot wieldier on the wrist. Realistically, I don't care what you're wearing. Even if you're dressed to operate a snowblower, there is no long sleeve that's going to make it over this thing. This is a summer watch. This is a short sleeve watch. Heck, it's even better as a no sleeve watch, because this one's built to get wet. But I will say, on the wrist, even a small wrist, it's very comfortable. If you like the big watch look, ergonomically, you can pull it off. Whether the look is for you is completely individual, but I will say this, Hublot did its homework when it drew this one up. Now, normally I would say any watch that looks like an industrial instrument designed to dive to, oil rig depths would be a pretty monolithic thing. Not necessarily a fun-loving summertime companion, but this Hublot is, and I'll tell you why. Because they use color to break up that mass and that industrial vibe. Hublot was clever to use light tones on the dial, blue, yellow, silver, white, and the effect is cheerful, lighthearted, and when combined with the skeletonized chronograph seconds and chronograph minutes hands and the modified cathedral style hours and minutes, as well as that little skeletonized sub-seconds, it's light, it's airy. Again, it's got a fun-loving attitude to it that transcends that ultimate instrument look. And there's even more cleverness on the side where that characteristic Hublot sandwich layered look that starts from the bezel and works its way down to the case back shows you every piece of the watch, from the bezel to the bezel gasket to the case to the intermediate composite inserts to the bottom of the case to that case back, which in this case is engraved with the image of the logo of the Museum Oceanographique of Monaco. Hublot does a great job of breaking up the mass of the thing with these layers. That's ultimately what they achieve. They prevent this thing from looking like a block of granite on your wrist. And the theme continues in the bracelet, where you have multiple layers of articulation. It's sort of hollowed out in the center or relieved to add just a little bit of a character line to it. Just as the case itself has these lines created by the sandwich layers, that continues and flows into the strap. And it continues even into the pin buckle. You can see that echoes the lines of the case, with a top, a middle, and a bottom sandwiched together, machine style, but it's that stylistic continuity, it's that fun-loving attitude, it's the idea that designers sweated the details here that makes this thing a little bit warmer, more approachable, and I think Hublot did a great job of executing and achieving that goal. In addition, there's a lot of detail here. There's a difference between the top of the bezel, which is a straight grain, and the satinated wells that are relieved into it. You can see that each of the H-shaped Hublot signature titanium bezel bolts features a relief around it that radiates outward, and the bezel bolts themselves are cleverly PVD blacked to sync with the composite flanks of the case. I think as borderline chaotic as this mega machine is, it's also deceptively cohesive, and you begin to realize that more and more as you ponder it. And I think that's a great thing. It's an Hublot that you need to take 2-3 glances and revisit to fully appreciate. That's how detailed and thoughtful it is. But Hublot packs this thing with thoughtful tech, not just miles of style. I promised you the tech, let's get into it. 1,000 meter depth rating, the watch has been tested to 1,250 at Hublot. Beyond that, you get that upgrade over the original Oceanographic 4000 in the form of a chronograph, the king of complications. More than that, and I'm going to start the chrono here, you could see that the seconds are radial, no surprise there, that's standard chronograph fare, but so are the chronograph minutes. So you can read the seconds and the minutes off of the 60-minute, 60-second track. And I find that if you're going to have a chronograph, it may as well be as legible as the rest of the watch, especially when the watch is a diver, a no-nonsense tool-style watch. Legibility is key, and having radial minutes and radial seconds optimizes legibility and usability from my perspective. Plus, they even throw in a date. It's an automatic winding movement based on the value 7750, extremely tough. Basically, it can cash the checks that the outside of the watch is writing. It's tough inside and out. So, not soft on the inside. This one, as they say, walks the walk and talks the talk. And with an automatic winding movement, you can basically just put this one on all weekend and never worry about resetting it or it winding down. So it's basically set it and forget it. But they've got more tech here. Ideally, if you're going to have a watch that is a hardcore dive instrument that's rated and tested as a dive watch that meets ISO 6425, the standard international definition of a dive watch, it's got to have a rotating bezel, a unidirectional rotating bezel. And the safest kind for precautionary purposes is the internal type. It can never be displaced by a bump or a knock while you're underwater. And even if you only want to align it with the minutes hand to time, say, your waiter at a restaurant, let's line that up right there. The bottom line is it gives you the ability to time two separate simultaneous events. For instance, you can time a 60-minute event from the minute hand with the bezel, waiting for that to make a circuit, and you can also watch the chronograph minute hand making its circuits, so effectively you've got two timers in one. It's a nice feature to have. And I gotta love this little arch that protects the internal rotating bezel's adjustment crown. This is like the pin guard on a grenade. This little crown guard right here makes me feel like I'm about to light the fuse on something explosive. And perhaps that's fitting for what is the ultimate adventure watch. When you're embarking on your next vacation, make it epic. Make it Hublot King Power epic. Now, this King Power Oceanographic 1000 meter includes some epic accessories as well. And I just want to focus on one of the cool tech bonuses of the watch, which is the Hublot quick release lugs. Now, you can use this to swap out the natural rubber strap. It's got a titanium end piece with the included accessory textile strap for diving. If you want to enjoy surf and turf, you might want to lay this exquisite rubber piece aside, although it is waterproof, and strap on the textile, because let's face it, a big nylon strap looks awesome on a dive watch, especially a dive watch this burly. And if you want to throw it on over a wetsuit or some sort of protective gear, all the better. It also gives you the option of shopping the vast catalog of Hublot factory accessory straps, which I should mention include leather. So you could slap alligator on there and prove that wearing this thing, you really are at the top of the food chain. Now, Hublot also gives you the helium escape valve for that 1% of 1% of 1% of people who are going to wear this watch in a diving bell. Hublot's got you covered. Now, this watch features an extraordinary deluxe accessory set. I usually don't say too much about those other than to mention that, yes, this one has complete boxes, papers, and accessories, but because it is basically co-branded with the Aquarium of Monaco, it has a particularly interesting and entertaining set that you're going to want to see. So check it out on our website, Watch You Want. And I have a feeling that if you want the ultimate diving Hublot, this King Power Oceanographic 1000 meters will be the watch you want.